Hey everybody, welcome back to another video and welcome back to the channel, and I'm here to give y'all my first of two year-end videos, and this is going to be my video for top 5 disappointing albums of 2019. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with number 5. Okay, number 5 is Who Do You Trust by Papa Roach. And now, when I first learned that Papa Roach was going to put out a new album this year, I was pretty excited for it. But once the album came out and I tried to listen to it, and I couldn't get past like 6 songs. I'm serious, I could not get past 6 songs. I think the album has like a total of 12 songs, but I couldn't even listen to the whole thing because it was just boring, bland, and very awful album. And disappointing at that. And the song Elevate, that is easily one of Papa Roach's worst songs that they ever did. Even though it does sound like their earlier material when it comes to that song, I still think it's a very awful song and easily one of their worst songs. If they're gonna try different stuff, they should go back to the hard rock sound, back like when they done the Face Everything and Rise album, because that album, in my opinion, is one of their best, especially when it comes to their hard rock stuff. But this album, Who Do You Trust, is very awful and disappointing. Not just the album itself is awful and disappointing. If you look at the album cover is also awful as well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to number 4. Okay, number 4 is from a band that I do like, but remember, this is just my opinion, so don't give me any hate because you see an album on here that you like. But number 4 is Trauma by I Prevail, and before y'all say anything disrespectful to me because I'm putting this out in the album world, the only reason this album is making the list is because there are certain songs on there that are heavy, and certain ones that are just like pop, and I don't like it when a metalcore or a metal band releases pop songs because it's just ridiculous. I understand that they want to try to evolve the sound a little bit and have like a mix of everything on an album, but when it's a metalcore band, I expect them to put out slamming music that'll make you headbang over and over and just have a good time listening to it. But when you listen to an album from a band that you're really into, you just can't get into the album when most of the songs are like modern pop music. So that's why the album is making the list. But I do like the heavier songs from this album, like Bow Down, Gasoline, and any other heavy songs from the album. But it's not the worst album, or should I say not the most disappointing. I do think it's a good album, but yet I still think it's disappointing though as well, so that's why it's making the list. Okay, number 3 is from a singer that used to be one of my favorite female singers of all time, but I don't know what happened with her because back in around the earlier 2010s, she got a disease known as Lyme disease, and she didn't put out an album. Okay, her last album she put out before this album I'm about to talk about, her self-titled album, came out in 2013, and she didn't release an album years later until 2019. And her 2019 album, Head Above Water, is making my entry in at number 3 for top 5 disappointing albums of 2019. And this album is Head Above Water by Avril Lavigne. And now, I don't know what happened to her, but I think her self-titled album was decent at best. My favorite Avril Lavigne albums would be Let Go, Under My Skin, The Best Damn Thing, Goodbye Lullaby, and like I said, even the self-titled album was decent at best. But Head Above Water is just very disappointing. The title track was the only song that I actually really enjoyed because it's a well-written song, and Avril Lavigne's vocals on that song are fantastic. But as far as the rest of the album, it was a huge letdown and very huge disappointment to me because I prefer her older material over this any day, because at least back then she was writing great songs that actually were good. But as far as this album, Head Above Water, it is not good at all. It's very bad and very disappointing. And that's a shame, because I am still an Avril Lavigne fan. So hopefully when she releases another album, I hope it will not be as disappointing as Head Above Water, because this album, I don't know what happened to her. Like I said, she just basically tried to sell out when it came to this album, and it doesn't work well with me. Very huge letdown and disappointment. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to number 2. Okay, number 2 is from a pop band that I actually like a few songs from, and this group is called Backstreet Boys, and making my number 2 entry is their new album, DNA. And now, I previewed some of the songs on this album, but I didn't want to listen to them because by the previews, it was a huge disappointment. I don't care what anyone says. Backstreet Boys, I know they're a pop group, but back in the 2000s and 90s, they were putting out fantastic song after fantastic song, but with DNA from the previews I've heard, it's just a huge disappointment again. I already said that plenty of times throughout the video. I'm just serious. I don't know what's with these bands and singers and groups anymore. They're just getting bad anymore, especially when it's a good group like Backstreet Boys, because I do like majority of their songs. But this album, DNA, hell no. Very disappointed with the direction that they took with this album, because it's not the original pop sound. It's just music that you would hear on the radio in the 2010s. Just awful. Okay, and number 1 is easily the most disappointing album of 2019 without a doubt. And this actually bothers me a lot, because this band, I'm actually a fan of it. And this band is The Devil Wears Prada, and their album, The Act. And I don't give a shit what anyone says. This album is awful. It sounds nothing like The Devil Wears Prada. Now, there were about 2 or 3 songs that I did think were heavy and good from this album, but the full album itself, the lead vocalist, I think his name is Mike or Mikey, something like that, his voice on this, the screams he was going for on this album are just awful. I understand that the band is getting older and they try to want to evolve a little bit, but trying to sound like a band that you're not is just awful. Very awful. I was very let down by this album, and this actually ticks me off a lot, because I am a fan of this band, especially when it comes to their metalcore. To me, this is not a metalcore album. Like I said, there is about 2 or 3 songs that on this album I thought were good, but this album by far is not good. It's a very huge disappointment. The most disappointing album of 2019 in my opinion. So the Devil Wears Prada fans that enjoyed this album, don't come on my video cussing at me over my opinion, because this is easily the worst and disappointing album of the year. I know this video is top 5 disappointing albums of 2019, but this album, The Act by The Devil Wears Prada, can count towards both worst and disappointing, especially when it comes to worst, even though this is disappointing video. But yeah, this album, it's just, it sounds nothing like Devil Wears Prada. It sounds like a band that they're trying to sound like they're trying to basically go to the direction that Bring Me the Horizon done with their album, That's the Spirit. And that's not the way The Devil Wears Prada needed to go. I get they wanted to evolve, but trying to sound like that is just not good. It's not good at all. This album, just not good at all. It's awful. So hopefully The Devil Wears Prada, hopefully if they release another album that it sounds nothing like this, because if it does, then I'm going to lose faith and I'm not going to like any of their new music, because it's just awful. I can't get into it. I'm not trying to go on a rant and shit, but it's true. This album is easily the most disappointing album of the year. I don't care what anyone says. This is true. I know it's my opinion, but to me, it's true. It's awful. I don't care what anyone says. This album is the most disappointing album of the year. Even worse than Backstreet Boys' disappointing album. Worse than Avril Lavigne's disappointing album. Worse than I Prevail's disappointing album. And worse than Papa Roach's disappointing album. It's a shame when you got 4 other entries on the video or on the list or whatever. It's a shame when you have 4 other albums that are still disappointing, but they're slightly a little bit better than this god-awful album that The Devil Wears Prada gave us. I know some people go like, oh, they were heading this route when they released Trains of Blues back in 2016 or 2017. I don't want to hear it. I don't give a shit. I don't care if they want to bowl. Sounding like this is just awful. It's going to tick off a lot of fans who prefer the heavier shit over this modern garbage that they gave us this year. But other than that, tell me your top 5 disappointing albums of 2019. This is my list. But yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching. Take care and peace.